has crossed the line. It was my hope that after the turmoil from which Kenyans are still deeply suffering, the Kenya Kwanza administration will begin this new year with much more reflection and humility, and will plant hopes that vital lessons have been learned and that 2024 will be better. We were wrong. Yesterday, on the second day of the new year, Hon. William Ruto hit the ground more haughty, abrasive, dismissive, and dictatorial than we have ever known. It would have been easy to let Ruto's threats against the judiciary pass as those of a leader who is ever getting frustrated with the reality of imminent abject failure. Certainly, the threats that Kenya Kwanza regime continues to huff and puff about must be seen in their correct context as a scapegoating and diversionary tactic from the pressing social and economic pressures the regime has subjected the people to. For the subject of Mr. Ruto's latest strange rage, judiciary is too critical to the well-being of our country and our democracy, making it extremely important that we call Ruto out and tell him that he has crossed the line. Kenyans will recall that when the Supreme Court made its contemptuous ruling against the Azimio la Umoja's presidential election in 2022, we said we strongly disagreed and accepted it in the interest of furthering the rule of law, democracy, stability, and healing of our nation. It remains our position to date that disobeying court rulings is a sure path to chaos and the collapse of a nation. Mr. Ruto has captured Parliament, and bills now come straight from State House and get ratified by the lawmakers. Sometimes up to 2 bills or 3 are ratified in one afternoon. There's no debate in Bunge these days on bills. If there was ever any doubt about the malevolent intent of the Kenya Kwanza regime in regard to the Constitution of Kenya, yesterday's attack by Mr. William Ruto on the judiciary removes all the doubts. After executing a civilian coup in the election of 2022 and receiving backing from the judiciary in the illegality, Ruto has now turned upon the institution he deceptively seduced the false assurances that he had credentials in the rule of law. Azimio complained and still holds its position that no justice was done in 2022 presidential elections. But after we have at every corner stood unwavering in our respect for the judiciary, the judges, and the decisions. Ruto's entire political career has been saved by the judiciary. When he was charged with the fraud and stealing of Kenya pipeline land, it is the judiciary that saved him. When he was sued to stop his presidential bid with President Uhuru Kenyatta on account of commission of crimes against humanity, it is the judiciary that saved him. And in 2022, the judiciary sanctified his power grab after he rigged the elections. It is ridiculous to now hear the biggest political beneficiary of judicial decisions in Kenya's history now accuse the institution of sabotaging him. But this is not about the judiciary. This is about where Ruto wishes to take Kenya and what it means for Kenyans. Having captured parliament, Ruto now wants to intimidate, subdue, and capture the judiciary. He wants the judges not to hear cases against his policies, dismiss such cases, or always rule in his favor. In other words, Ruto wants to establish an absolute dictatorship. Kenyans know we have been here before. We have seen days when judges had cases in the dead of the night, way past official working hours, and sent opponents of states to jail. Kenyans know we have seen days when judges got transferred, sacked, leaving rulings that did not favor the state. Ruto wants to return us to that era of terror. As a people, we have in the past made heavy and painful sacrifices to establish a semblance of constitutional democracy as we now know it. Kenyans have every intention to see to it that every text of the Constitution that will be promulgated in 2010 finds meaning in the manner in which they are governed every minute and every day of their lives. And no sacrifice will be too much to pay to ensure this. Our judiciary is imperfect. It has corrupt elements. But Ruto cannot convince us that the judiciary is more corrupt than the executive branch of the government, which he leads. Corruption resides in the executive. The worst case of executive corruption, of impunity, right now is the acquittal of Mr. Henry Rotich over the Aror and Kimarere dams, where hoping 63 billion Kenya shillings was lost. The executive went all out to ensure witnesses were never summoned, or those summoned were never questioned. The entire plot was to save Mr. Rotich and close the case. Ruto is not outraged by that. The executive is where the petroleum, the 16.5 billion edible oils, the 17 billion fuel scam, the duty-free rice, maize, the KCP exam printing, the 3.7 billion insecticide-treated mosquito nets deal, among other scams, were conceived and executed. Ruto has not expressed anger at these deals because they belong to the executive. Not too long ago, we stopped a dictatorship that was more entrenched both locally and abroad. We will stop Mr. Ruto too. Since the promulgation of Constitution of Kenya 2010, our judiciary has proven to be an ingenious arbiter in social, political, and economic tribulations that we have encountered as a people and presented to them. The courts have set the pace and clarified the intentions of the people of Kenya expressed in the text of the Constitution, both for and against the government. In doing so, the courts have shown valor in the interpretation of the law and never shied from speaking the truth to power when the occasion demanded it. The Kenya Kwanza regime must therefore be no exception, as Mr. Ruto now imagines it should be. We appeal to the judiciary to stand firm in defense of the professionalism, independence, rule of law, and constitutionalism. In this judiciary, I see products of the old struggle against a vicious dictatorship. I trust that they will not allow judicial proceedings and decisions to be determined by Ruto's tantrums. With all its weaknesses and challenges, the judiciary, alongside external vigilance by citizens, remains our best bet against a return to dictatorship. The current level of political and personal attacks on the judiciary by Mr. Ruto is therefore completely unacceptable. Ruto has crossed the line and we will not allow it. Ruto must learn that his best insurance to obey the law. He must not depart from the book of the law to the left or to the right. There is no other way about it. There is no other way about it, and we will not allow him to invent any other way other than the law. End of statement. Meisha. Kwisha, halas.
Let me ask a few questions.
Yeah?
What is your comment on the upside? Inaonekana kuna upside ya Mangiti kule Central. What is your take on that? Two, when are again elected?
Hivi relevant to hii maneno hii.